Today, we're diving into the story of one of Korea's most celebrated rulers, King Sejong the Great. He was a king who totally transformed his nation through science, defense, and culture, and he did it all based on one single powerful idea. Now, his most famous creation is, of course, the Korean alphabet, Hangul. It is so brilliantly designed that even today, UNESCO, the UN's cultural arm, gives out the King Sejong Literacy Prize to people fighting illiteracy around the world. I mean, think about that. Its impact is so profound that it's considered one of the most genius writing systems ever made. But here's the really wild part. Sejong was never supposed to be king. So how on earth did this third son, this unlikely prince, ends up on the throne and completely change history with his incredible ideas? Yeah, Sejong's path to power was anything but a straight line. He was born Yi-do, and he was King Taejong's third son. That meant he had two older brothers standing between him and the crown. His rise was, well, incredibly fast. For most of his youth, he was just Prince Chungyang, a bookworm who wasn't really on anyone's radar to rule. But then, in 1418, everything changed. In just a matter of months, his older brother was kicked out of the line of succession, and suddenly, at just 22 years old, Sejong was king. So what happened? Why such a dramatic switch? Well, it really all came down to character. The original heir, his brother Young, was known for his wild, impulsive behavior. I mean, at one point, he got a married woman pregnant and then tried to sneak her into the palace. Sejong, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. He was this serious scholar, famous for reading the same book over and over, we're talking 100 times, just to make sure he mastered it. There's this one story from the royal records that just says it all. When the crown prince, Young, got all dressed up and asked his little brother what he thought, a young Sejong just gave him this simple piece of advice. It shows he had this incredible wisdom, even as a kid, and it totally hints at the kind of ruler he was going to be, one who cared way more about what's on the inside. So once Sejong was on the throne, what was his driving force? To get a handle on his entire 32-year reign, you really only need to understand one core concept, Amin. Amin literally means loving the people. And for Sejong, this wasn't just some nice political slogan. It was the entire point of government. He truly believed that a king's job was to act on behalf of heaven, to cherish and take care of every single person in the kingdom. And this is the key to understanding him. Every policy, every invention, every single military move he made, it all came from that one simple question. He was obsessed with building a nation where his people could be educated, healthy, and safe. You could almost think of it like a parent's deep love for their child, just scaled up to an entire country. And believe me, this Edelman philosophy wasn't just some abstract idea he talked about. It led directly to some truly revolutionary policies, a lot of which were centuries ahead of their time. You have to understand how totally radical these ideas were back then. In a world where slaves were just seen as property, Sejong said, no, they are people of the heavens. It made it illegal for masters to kill them without a trial. He even gave female government slaves 100 days of maternity leave and, get this, gave their husbands 30 days of paternity leave to help out. Paternity leave in the 15th century, that's just unheard of. His deep sense of fairness completely shook up the economy, too. The tax system was a total mess that was crushing poor farmers. So what did Sejong do? Something just mind-blowing for his time. He held a nationwide opinion poll. He asked over 170,000 people, from top officials all the way down to commoners, what they thought. And even though the vote was pretty close, he used that feedback to spend years perfecting a much fairer law. And this drive to help people just fueled innovation everywhere you looked. He poured support into scientific inventions like sundials and rain gauges to help farmers predict the weather and get better crops. He believed in meritocracy, famously promoting Jang Yangshul, a man born into the absolute lowest social class, to a high-ranking government job simply because he was a genius. And he secured the northern borders to protect villagers from constant, terrifying raids. But all of these amazing achievements were really leading up to his greatest gift of all, the one that would truly empower his people for generations to come. You see, at the time, writing in Korea meant using really complex Chinese characters. Only the super wealthy elite had the time and money to learn them. This meant that ordinary people were completely illiterate. They couldn't read farming guides or file a legal complaint if someone wronged them. Sejong saw this as a massive injustice, and his own words tell you his motivation. It was pure compassion. He felt pity for people who had something to say but couldn't express it. But, of course, an idea this revolutionary faced some serious backlash. The scholarly elite, whose entire power base was tied to knowing those difficult Chinese characters, freaked out. They argued that creating a barbaric local script was an insult to civilization. What they really meant was they didn't want everyday people to become literate and empowered. But Sejong wasn't having it. He stood his ground. The result was Hangul, a writing system so logical, so scientific. They said a wise person could learn it in a morning, and pretty much anyone could master it in 10 days. It was the ultimate act of Amin, giving a voice to the voiceless. But here's the thing. This kind of unwavering dedication to his people, it came at a terrible personal cost. Sejong's work ethic was absolutely legendary, but it completely wrecked his health. Seriously, some historians have basically called him a walking hospital. His lifestyle was brutal. He'd work from before dawn until midnight, he barely exercised, and he ate a ton of meat. All of this led to a whole laundry list of painful conditions. He had severe diabetes, constant headaches, and chronic eye problems that just got worse and worse over the years. This quote from the royal records is just heartbreaking. It shows you the kind of physical pain he was enduring every single day, even as he was pushing forward with massive projects like creating Hangul. Just think about that irony. At the very moment he was creating a tool to bring the light of literacy to his nation, his own eyesight was failing him. Even his own father, King Taejong, knew how hard his son pushed himself. On his deathbed, one of Taejong's very last commands was for the court to let Sejong eat meat during the traditional 3-year mourning period, which was strictly forbidden. He was just that worried that without it, his son's health would totally collapse. And yet, he never stopped. He just kept going. Even though he was in constant pain and could barely see, Sejong continued running the country right up until 3 days before he died. He passed away at the young age of 52, having literally given every ounce of his energy to his people. Now, more than 600 years later, his legacy is stronger than ever. The alphabet he created is a pillar of Korean identity, and his style of leadership, one based on logic, on merit, and most of all, on deep compassion, is still something we study and admire today. And it leaves us with a really powerful question for our own time, doesn't it? In a world filled with such complex problems, what can we learn from a king from the 1400s whose single greatest innovation turned out to be, quite simply, compassion?